Greetings, my name is Tom Lipschultz. Some of you online may know me as Weirdwad. As I was attempting to get to sleep last night, I randomly had an epiphany and invented a card game. This came out of the blue. I wasn't thinking about card games, just sort of came to me and I ran with it, came up with some rules, and I'd like to teach you how to play it now. I figured this would be a great opportunity to test out my brand new webcam, see how it looks in action, and so let's jump right in. The game is called Slack. I just think it's a really cool sounding name, no real meaning or anything. The game can be played with a regular deck of playing cards and 2 or 4 coins of varying denominations depending on the number of players. It's definitely meant for 2 or 4 players. 3 players, you'd have to fudge the rules a little, and more than 4 players just wouldn't work. But nonetheless, I think that it's pretty neat, and let's just jump right in, shall we? I'll start out by showing you how to play a 2-player match, and then I will tell you at the end of this video how to adjust the rules for a 4-player match. Alright, let's get to it. Let's begin with basic setup. First things first, you'll want to shuffle your deck of cards and set it aside face down as a universal draw pile from which cards will be drawn by all players during the game. I do not have it in frame during this video, but rest assured there is a universal draw pile that I will be pulling from during the course of this video. Once you have done that, take 16 cards from the draw pile and place them face up on the table in a 4x4 grid like so. This is to be the game board. Slack is essentially a board game that you're playing with cards as spaces, and the pieces that you're moving around these spaces are represented by coins. In this case, for this demo game, I'm using a penny for player 1, and I'm using a quarter for player 2. Player 1's goal will be to collect red cards, and the red cards will translate into a final score at the end of the game. And player 2's goal will be to collect black cards. The starting locations for these players will be within the inner section of the board, that being these 4 cards. Basically, depending on where you're sitting at the table, your start location will be the bottom left of the inner 4 cards. So my red penny player will be starting on the 9 of hearts here, because that's going to be theoretically me sitting right here, and you, the viewer, as the black quarter player, who will be sitting right here, will be starting on this 10 of diamonds. Note that you must begin the game with the head side of the coin facing up, as heads and tails are vital in this game. Okay, let's talk basic movement and scoring. During the course of your turn in Slack, there are 2 out of 3 options available to you. One of these options is dependent on whether or not your coin is showing heads up or tails up, and the other option, of course, is to flip the coin. If you flip the coin from heads to tails or from tails to heads, that constitutes a full turn, and control of the game is passed to the next player. Now, if your coin is showing heads up, you have the option of moving. Moving is exactly as it sounds. You move your coin 1 card up, down, left, or right. So I can take this penny here and move it from the 9 of hearts to the 9 of spades. And that is a perfectly valid turn as long as the coin is showing heads up. If, instead, the coin is showing tails up, well, movement is not available to me, but sliding is. Sliding is the primary means of scoring points in this game. Essentially, it involves taking an entire row of cards, or an entire column of cards, and sliding that row or column up, down, left, or right. Whatever cards are pushed outside of this 4x4 grid are taken and added to your score pile. Since I have previously mentioned that the penny player is playing toward red cards and the quarter player is playing toward black cards, well, the penny player wants to grab the highest numbered red card that they possibly can to add the largest number of points to their final score. In this case, the options are a 7 of hearts, a 2 of hearts, an 8 of diamonds, or a king of clubs. Well, the 8 of diamonds is the highest number there, so let's slide up. I guess in this case toward the camera, so for you it's down. For me, I'm thinking of it as up. I will now take this 8 of diamonds and add it to my final score pile. And as you'll notice, there's now a gap in the board. Well, just draw the top card from the draw pile and fill in the gap, and you have a complete board once again. That is a typical slide turn. Now, as I mentioned, other options would have been to slide this way, or this way. And if I had slid this way and taken the king of clubs, well, that's another major aspect of scoring in this game. If you are going after red cards and you take a red card, well, you're gaining points. If you're going after red cards and you take a black card, well, you're losing points. King is worth 12 points, and so if you take the king of the color other than yours, you get minus 12 to your final score, and that's no good. So essentially, this penny here wants to avoid black cards like the plague, and the quarter here wants to avoid red cards like the plague. That's basic scoring, that's basic gameplay. We'll get into some of the more advanced moves in a moment. Hey, look, I rearranged the board and took our 2 players off of it entirely. I wonder why I did that. Well, I'll tell you. I wanted to show you guys some hypothetical situations to explain some of the more complex aspects of gameplay and scoring. So, hypothetically, let's say Mr. Penny is hanging out here on the 10 of spades, and let's say Mr. Quarter is tails side up on the 9 of spades here, and it's Mr. Quarter's turn. Well, if Mr. Quarter is concerned about score, then clearly he's going to want to slide this row this way and take the king of clubs. It's black suit, and it's a king, which is worth 12 points. And 12 points is nothing to scoff at. Let's say, though, that Mr. Quarter is feeling kind of vindictive and wants to totally screw over Mr. Penny. Well, just slide him off the board. What this does is twofold. For one thing, since Mr. Penny is riding on this 10 of spades, Mr. Penny gets this 10 of spades. Instead of the quarter taking this card, our red player here takes this card, and it gets added to the red player's score pile, which means minus 10 at the end of the game. And as for the red player himself, he's reset back to his home position here, and is also reset back to head side up. So if your coin is ever pushed off of the 4x4 play area, then it is reset back to its home position, head side up, and whatever card you were on at the time, you take. The person who pushed you off does not take it. So you can certainly be a totally vindictive bastard if you want to be. Now, let's just flash forward, say that, a bunch of crap happened. Okay, it's our red player's turn. And red player is tails side up here on this joker, and decides, well, best move I can make is to grab this here 9 of hearts. So the red player gets this 9 of hearts added to his score pile, and a wonderful jack of spades fills in the space there. Well, it is now the black player's turn, and once again, Mr. Quarter can screw over Mr. Penny if he wants by pushing him off the board. But in this case, it's a really mean thing to do because of this joker. The joker is a very special card in this game. Instead of gaining or losing points specifically, you just lose the last card that you took. So, Mr. Penny took this 9 of hearts a turn ago. Well, Mr. Penny loses this 9 of hearts. It gets discarded from the game entirely, alongside the joker. Both cards get put into a separate discard pile. Mr. Penny returns back to his home position, and Mr. Penny now wants Mr. Quarter's blood, because, he totally just got screwed over. Totally screwed over. One more crucial piece of information that I forgot to mention is that you cannot slide yourself off the board. Mr. Quarter here is on this 9 of spades, right at the edge. Well, he could slide the whole row this way and grab this 9 of clubs. He could slide the whole column this way and grab the 7 of spades. He could slide the whole column this way and grab the 6 of hearts if he's feeling really generous and wants to make up for screwing over Mr. Penny twice in a row, but he cannot slide the row this way and take the 9 of spades, because he's on the 9 of spades, and you absolutely cannot slide yourself off of the board.